If war breaks out, these industries will be devastated. The impact of the Israel-Iran war on India. Imagine waking up one morning, picking up the newspaper, and reading the headline, "Oil prices have crossed $150 per barrel. Tankers are stuck in the Middle East, and many industries in India are gasping for breath." Is this just imagination? No. The escalating war between Israel and Iran seems to be heading exactly in that direction. And if the situation truly worsens, it could have a serious impact on several major industries in India. But how? Which sectors will suffer the most? Could some actually benefit? Today, we'll dive deep into this topic. But before that, if you are new to our channel, please don't forget to subscribe so that you are the first to receive updates on all our latest videos. So, without any delay, let's begin today's discussion. According to CRISIL's latest report, the Israel-Iran war has not yet had a major impact on India's corporate sector. But how long will this calm last? No one knows. Because Middle East politics is as complex as it is dangerous. India's direct trade with Iran is mostly limited to basmati rice, while its trade with Israel includes diamonds, fertilizers, and electrical equipment. But even this limited trade, if disrupted or delayed in payments, could create serious problems. The first and most immediate impact would be on oil. If the war drags on and supply from the Middle East is disrupted, crude oil prices could skyrocket. And for India, which imports about 85% of its oil requirements, this would be a direct blow. Now, if prices go up, upstream oil companies like ONGC would benefit because their production cost remains the same, but selling prices increase. However, downstream companies like IOC and BPCL would face trouble as refining would become more expensive and they wouldn't be able to pass on the entire cost to consumers. This would squeeze their profit margins. But the impact of rising oil prices won't be limited to just oil companies. It will also hit industries that heavily rely on petroproducts in their cost structures, like the specialty chemicals sector. About 30% of this sector's operational costs are tied to crude oil. And it's already struggling with issues like dumping from China and reduced demand. Now, if oil becomes more expensive, production costs will rise even further, but companies won't be able to transfer that cost to customers. The result? A sharp drop in profit margins. Similarly, dark clouds are also looming over the paint industry. Around 30% of the raw materials used in paint production are derived from crude oil. But due to intense competition in the market, companies hesitate to increase prices. What does that mean? Oil prices will rise, production costs will increase, but the selling price will remain the same. This will shrink profit margins, and the market valuation of these companies could fall in the stock market. Now let's talk about the aviation industry. For airline companies, 35 to 40% of their operating expenses are solely fuel-related. Now imagine if crude oil becomes expensive, and on top of that, if airspace is closed or flights need to be diverted due to war, aircraft will have to take longer routes. This will increase both flight time and fuel consumption. The result? Losses. However, if demand remains strong, companies might be able to offset some of the losses by increasing fares. So, this sector will remain under pressure, but it won't collapse entirely. As for the tire industry, about half of its production cost is dependent on crude oil. If oil prices rise, tire companies will face higher input costs. They can increase prices in the replacement market, but raising prices when selling to automobile companies is not that easy. It takes time. And during that delay, the financial losses will directly reflect on their balance sheets. The impact of oil is even more significant in the packaging and synthetic textile industries. For these sectors, nearly 70 to 80% of their production costs are linked to crude oil. If these companies are not allowed to raise prices immediately, they could incur heavy losses. However, since the demand-supply situation is currently stable, they may be able to pass some of the burden on to customers, but not right away. At least 1 or 2 quarters of financial strain is expected. Now, let's talk about basmati rice, which India exports to both Iran and Israel. In 2025, 14% of India's total basmati exports went to these two countries. However, basmati is a staple food item, and its demand is unlikely to drop significantly. Moreover, India has other major markets in the Middle East, Europe, and the United States that can make up for any shortfall. But if the war drags on, payment delays may occur. And if additional sanctions are imposed on Iran, it could put pressure on basmati exports. Coming to the diamond sector, India's diamond industry is renowned globally. But after polishing, a large share of these diamonds pass through trading hubs like Israel. About 4% of India's total diamond exports go to Israel, and 2% of raw diamonds are sourced from there. If Israel remains entangled in war, this trade chain could face disruption. However, India does have alternatives like Belgium and the UAE. Also, the end consumers are largely in the US and Europe, so a sector recovery is quite possible. Apart from this, the fertilizer sector will also be clearly impacted. Israel is a major producer of muriate of potash, MOP. Last year, India imported 7% of its MOP from Israel. Although MOP accounts for less than 10% of India's total fertilizer needs, and India also buys MOP from countries like Russia and Canada, meaning that alternative sources are available if supply is disrupted. Still, prices may rise, which would directly affect farmers. Now that we've discussed all these sectors, another crucial point arises: transportation. If sea routes become unsafe due to war, or if insurance companies hike premiums, then freight costs will rise. This will especially impact companies involved in exports and imports. If airspace is closed, air freight will become more expensive. All of this combined could negatively affect India's trade balance. Then comes the issue of inflation. If prices of oil, transportation, and chemicals increase, the effect will eventually reach the common man. Paints will become more expensive, tires will cost more, air travel will be pricier, and fertilizers will become costlier. And when production costs rise, companies tend to pass on the burden to consumers. This leads to inflation, and the Reserve Bank may be forced to raise interest rates. In short, even a small war has the potential to shake up India's entire economic system. But every crisis also carries a hidden opportunity. For instance, upstream oil companies stand to benefit. The diversified demand for basmati rice will help keep India secure. Tire companies can quickly raise prices in the replacement market. And the diamond sector can find alternative routes with the help of Belgium and the UAE. However, these advantages only hold as long as the war remains short-lived. If it stretches on for months, the impact won't just be limited to individual sectors. It could affect the entire economy.
If our video has taught you something new, do not forget to like and share this video so that this information can reach others as well. Your likes and shares are a source of inspiration for us. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know in the comments. It will be our honor to answer your questions and listen to suggestions. And yes, if you like our content, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you stay connected with every new story. Thank you. GRT Business YouTube channel sources: news from various news agencies, opinion polls, and other public sources. We try to ensure that every report and summary is accurate and verified, but we are not responsible for any dispute or error. Our aim is only to provide you with accurate information.